Hey everybody, this is Mike with Dark Wizard Gaming, and I'm here for a special Adepticon just kind of recap. First, it was a great time at Adepticon. That was just a wonderful gaming weekend. I'd like to thank Brian, the librarian, and then all of the people that helped him put on the tournament. That was a long 4 days for him. I know that was a ton of prep work, and they did an amazing job getting everything together for that tournament, running it. Everything was extremely smooth. Almost everybody got along. I think all the sportsmanship scores were off the charts. It was just really a nice, fun weekend for everybody at the tournament. The only thing in my wish list, I wish we could have a 5,000 point tournament next time, but it sounds like that I lost the vote on that, so it sounds like they'll be mostly going the 4,500. And I'd just like to say I'm sorry to all my YouTube subscribers that I did not get any footage of me gaming at Adepticon. I was more concerned with getting my 6,000 points of VC Horde to Chicago flying there. I didn't bring anything to do recording except my phone, and definitely when I watched James and all his videos, you know, I was like, I really should have spent a little more time prepping that and getting you guys some action from Adepticon. So I'm real sorry about that. Next time I go to a major tournament, I will definitely get at least a little bit of footage. Probably still won't do battle reports, especially if I'm running a VC Horde, because it takes a lot of work just getting skeletons and zombies put on and off, and I don't want to slow down any of my games, but we'll definitely get some more coverage of the tournaments when we go to the major tournaments. And then I got to say, one of the highlights was definitely meeting Lord Tremendous and Chai Hammer. We had a great time, and I was even lucky enough to get a game in second round on the GT with Chai Hammer. We had a lot of fun. I know he thought my raising was definitely fine, and there was no issues with that being overpower. Just kidding. I know that that was something that was very frustrating for a lot of people at the tournament. I'll talk about vampires and kind of how to deal with those big hordes here in just a little bit on there. But anyway, great shout out to him. It was a fun game. And the whole tournament was great. I met a lot of other wonderful 9th Age gamers from all over the country, and looking forward to the next big tournament to see more people and see everybody again. Other than wargaming, I'd like to point out that with Adepticon, there's so many more things to do. I think a lot of people overlook the other options. So even if you're not a wargamer, or you know, or say that your spouse is considering going but doesn't want to because they don't know what they would do, or you have kids, this is a great place to bring the whole family. They have board games that are just open gaming. You can game at any time. They're going to have a lot of board game tournaments. Karen is not a big fan of playing the huge tournaments. She'll play the smaller ones around here. So she didn't play anything 9th Age while we were there, but she did go ahead and get a couple of Ticket to Ride tournaments in. She did some open board gaming. I know she saw a lot of kids, even grandparents bringing the kids in to play that. So there's so much to do there other than just actual wargaming. So I always encourage you, if you know, make it a family event as well, and bring the whole family, and it doesn't have to be just a weekend away just for wargaming. And then if you are going to bring the family, there's so many things to do. You know, in Chicago, we got to eat our first deep dish Chicago pizza, which was wonderful. You know, we hit a lot of the restaurants, we caught some movies, and then one of my favorite things we did, other than the gaming, was we went to Medieval Times. If you haven't been into a Medieval Times, I know there's several of them all over the country, definitely go. It is well worth the money for the dinner and the show. I'll have some pictures on that here at the end of just a few things we saw at the Medieval Times. But, you know, again, you don't have to just only game that weekend. Make it a little mini vacation and do whatever you want to with the family and have a lot of fun. All right, and so a quick update. I will have another battle report out within the next week or so. Sorry that I haven't been bringing them out quite as regularly as we'd like, but we've had a tournament pretty much every month here for the last couple months. A lot of traveling, and then my next tournament's going to be Wicked, which is a GT in Wichita, Kansas, May 21st, I think, maybe 21st. If there's at all possible, if you can make it down there, Rob and Roe put on an amazing tournament. There's always a lot of fun there, so hope to see you at Wicked. But with having about 6-7 weeks off on tournaments, we should definitely get out a couple of battle reports here in the very near future for you. All right, so to recap the weekend, in the GT, it was definitely a lot of fun. I ended up getting very lucky with my vampires, and I got the best of the evil armies. I was also able to get best painted in the Big Brawl on Thursday. Again, a great shout out to the guys at Adepticon. They have a lot of great prize support. You know, just I'm going to grab a few of the things here. Just from the couple things that I won, there was so many different boxes of models that we got from Adepticon. They have some great trophies here. A lot of great medals for going. So again, I suggest, if you haven't been to a big GT, even if you're not going to place it and win something like this, it's just such a great experience. But they do have a wonderful prize support, and it's just a whole lot of fun to spend the whole weekend gaming. Now I want to talk just a little bit about the Vampire Army, how it plays, and just address a little of the concerns I think some players had at the tournament. I know that there was 3 Vampire players that had a lot of raising there, and everybody thought it was a little much over the top that we could raise as much as we do. And I know it can seem that way. It can definitely seem frustrating when there's so many bodies coming up and you just can't quite get rid of them fast enough. However, I just want to point out a few things that anybody that's having a hard time playing vampires, maybe how they can handle a little bit, and explain a little bit of maybe why it seems stronger than it is, but if you know how to handle it, it's not quite as strong. So if you have a typical unit, maybe say a 600 to 800 point unit, and then you put a 800 point general in it, and then you put another BSB in it, and all of a sudden you've got a 2,000 to 2,500 point unit, that's going to be a really powerful unit. There's going to be very few things on the table that are going to want to go into it, and the few that do may have a nice answer for it, but for the most part, it's going to steamroll most things. And that's how everybody's normally used to seeing units play. With the vampires, what ends up happening is, and this is what happened with mine, I have a list built straight for raising. I have 3 necromancers, and then I have a vampire lord who, he's Nefrost 2. There's nothing about him that wants to fight. All he wants to do is raise more skeletons and zombies. And so I've built a list that has about 1,700 points worth of magic devoted to it, because I've also got a corpse card in there, which is helping my growing with everything. And instead of having those characters in a unit that are helping specifically do damage in combat, I'm taking my normal character allotment, and that's supposed to help with the magic and the raising portion of it. So you really can't look at a 600 point skeleton unit that starts with 45, 50 skeletons as a easy to kill, small unit there. If you take in, a unit to the front and then maybe even 1 or 2 to the sides, a chariot, it's going to be very frustrating if you don't bring in enough support to really kill that, because you can't look at it as a 600 point unit of skeletons. You really have to look at it with all of the abilities from the magic to go with it. So this is really a 2,000 to 2,300 point unit with all the raising potential. And now, while my guys aren't doing a lot to really do combat damage, and skeletons are not good models, but there's just a lot of them. I can grow them back quickly, and then my magic also allows me to do things like get lightning reflexes, or go ahead and reroll failed to hits, or failed to wounds, or lethal strikes. So instead of having a lord in doing direct damage, how the VC play is, or at least my list, I have a bunker unit of wizards who are then supporting that specific unit of skeletons to make them really strong. And I know I had several opponents that were very frustrated when they had a couple of what would normally be super heavy hitting units come in, and they did hit them, they did a lot of damage, and then everything just raised right back, and they felt like it was kind of a broken rule. And so what I'd like to say is, 2 things strategy-wise on this, and I do have some friends here, David for one here in Colorado. He's good at beating my vampire list on a regular basis. They've figured it out, and I can give you some strategy. If you treat that unit of 600 point skeletons as a 2,000 plus point unit with characters already in it, and you bring in that type of firepower and you concentrate it directly on there, then I can't do enough raising to overcome that over the time. But if you bring in just enough that would normally kill, say, just a regular maybe special unit with a BSB, what's going to happen is you won't put out enough damage output to get that unit to go down far enough before I can raise it back up. So if you devote a big portion of your army to that unit of skeletons, or whatever unit, I have a couple units of skeletons and a unit of barrow guard, but whatever unit you're going to hit, you really do need to hit it hard and hit it with enough stuff that you can actually start crumbling it out and outpace the raising ability on it. So I hope that does help with some of the frustrations on thinking that there's just too many skeletons being raised. You really focus on on one specific unit at a time, and make sure the others aren't able to collapse on you and side flank you, because then you definitely end up with a big issue. Another thing just to point out is a huge unit of skeletons like that can easily be stopped by a stubborn hero with a 1-up armor save, 4-up ward save. They'll probably never actually get him killed, and they can just be held in place there. And you should be able to pick the matchups you want, because skeletons, they move at 4, and if you've got a horde that you've grown to 80, 90 of them, it's not like they're very mobile. So for most of the time, I mean, armies can go ahead and outmaneuver the vampires. We get occasional a dance off, which does some movement shenanigans, but just use your speed and the ability to take some time and get the matchups you want, and really do focus on one unit, or just tie down a great big unit like that with somebody who really can't be killed by them. So anyway, I don't want to go too much into the vampires, but I did want to address just some of the things that people thought were a little overpowered with vampires at the tournament. I think 9th Age has got them in a really good spot. I don't think they need to be nerfed that much, because if you spend a lot of time knowing how to dissect the army, you can do a pretty good job of getting rid of that extra raising. But it's just one of those I don't think a lot of people run across a super raising vampire list, and they just don't know how to handle it, and I just give you a couple of tools to actually take care of that. All right, and so what I want to do is just go to some of the pictures that we have. I took some pictures of most of the armies. There was a few that weren't set up when we took pictures, but most of the armies at the GT. We got a few other just cool pictures around Adepticon, and then we definitely included the Medieval Times show. So enjoy the pictures, and we'll see you in about a week or so on another battle report. Thank you.